From 2015, the students, staff, alumni and friends of the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning at the University of Melbourne will be able to enjoy the inspiring surrounds of their new home. Following an international design competition, the university appointed the architectural design team of Melbourne's John Wardle Architects and Boston's Nader to deliver its vision for a living, pedagogical building that will be a centre of transformational education and research, bolstered by a world-class curriculum. In the Australian autumn of 2013, Nader's Nader Tehrani, head of the Department of Architecture at MIT, has arrived from Boston and for the first time steps onto the construction site together with John Wardle.
The history of the Joseph Reed facade is actually quite interesting. It was part of the competition brief. We were one of the only architects that actually respected it.
Joseph Reed designed the facade originally as the front primary elevation of a new banking chamber on Collins Street as part of that celebration of the great wealth of Melbourne in the 1880s.
For the first time, there's going to be a reciprocal relationship between the concrete lawn and the transparency of the facade on the one hand, and on the other hand, significant spaces on the inside of the building that finally look out onto the plaza and activate the exterior.
The kind of students that will be educated in this building are going to work in denser cities where the pressure on land is much more important, and the kind of decisions about retaining and preserving our heritage infrastructure will become even perhaps more pronounced in their life. Well, the really interesting aspect of demolition, in this case in such a confined area of the university, is now behind us, and the act of building is now well underway.
Currently, they're pouring the foundations, the piles, and getting the basement ready. One of the delicacies of this moment has to do with the tight conditions of the campus, how to protect the foundations of the neighboring buildings like the Elizabeth Murdoch building, and also digging incrementally. Essentially, after all of the piles are in, they can only go down a certain amount of feet at a time. When we began the design, we thought of the infrastructure of the campus as a central aspect of its design.
We realised very quickly it sort of has to be oriented in every direction. It certainly is a building in the round.
We invented a new courtyard in front of the Elizabeth Murdoch building to bring the public through it, draw the public in the building and outside to the concrete lawn on the opposite side. The idea of the building is to make a very public ground and basement. In the basement there will be a series of auditoria and public halls, but then on the ground floor there's the fabrication lab, the library and the gallery.
So it's a very public place, even though it's set below the ground. And it also shares a lot of interesting elevational aspects with the spaces that sit immediately above it, the workshop and the library and these great exhibition chambers particularly. Nader and I wish to thank all of the building's donors for their past and continuing support and for helping to make this vision a reality.
We are really inspired knowing that the University of Melbourne's vision for this new centre of learning and research is shared by so many in Australia and overseas. With this building, the University of Melbourne is making a long-term investment in the educational, environmental and economic health of our society for future generations.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of A New Home for the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning. We'll be sending you further updates at significant stages of the building's construction. Thanks to all our supporters from everyone at the faculty, and remember, every gift helps, no matter what the size. You can contact me at any time and I'll be happy to talk to you about becoming one of our building supporters.